Hello. Today I thought a lot of people ask me about different things, in the country. If you live in the country, what happens? And people tend to find it interesting sometimes, like different tales and stories and stuff like that. So I thought when things happen, I'll do a video on it and explain, things like that, and I'll, put them in amongst all the other gardening and that videos. And I thought, tales from the country or something like that. But the tale today isn't such a good one. I was in Melbourne for a couple of days, and I came back, and there's a card here from the DPI, which is the Department of Primary Industry here in Australia. So like health officers for livestock and stuff like that. And the card said, can you call us? And I thought, okay, it's a bit odd. So I rang them up, and they said, oh look, we don't like the look of the ram you've got. It's fly blown and it's mangy and all that. And I thought, mine's alright. And I went down and checked my sheep out, because if I'm away for a couple of days, my neighbours look after them for me, so I don't have to worry about them when I'm not here. But they were all fine. I look after my sheep, and I thought, that's strange. So I rang them up, and I said, mine are all fine, da-da-da-da. And they said, they need to be shorn. I said, yeah, I know, they're getting shorn next week. And they said, oh yeah, the fly blown. I said, I've inspected mine, they're not fly blown or anything. And we just kind of left it at that, and I hung up. And then I went outside, and I found this ram. Not one of mine, just a ram, a random ram, walking around the back paddock. And I had a look at it, I went up close to it, and it was mangy, like really, in a really bad way. And I had a look, the wool was coming off it, and I pulled up the wool, and it was just covered in maggots, so it was really fly blown. And I thought, well, where did you come from, what's going on? So I went across to the neighbour's place, and I talked to them, and they told me that 6 o'clock in the morning, now this is just something that can happen, alright? This is just a story. These are the things that happen if you live in the country, right? 6 o'clock in the morning, they got up, they heard a car, they looked out their window, they were upstairs, and there was a guy in a silver four-wheel drive with this sheep, and he dumped it, and then was on his phone, and then he got in his car and drove off. So by the time they came downstairs and came out, he was gone. This guy's dumped it, and it's come into my place, and he's had the cheek to ring up the, well, not the cheek, it's, in one respect it's good that he did it, but he actually rang up the DPI and told them about this sheep. So they've come and had a look and found it and thought it was mine, and then they've, left that card for me to call them. So I've rang them up and said, look, it's not mine, and I told them the story. They spoke to the neighbours and all that kind of stuff, gave them the description of the car and the bloke and all that kind of stuff. And they have just literally left. It's Friday today. They've just left, and the lady from the DPI, nice lady, came and shot it. And she said to me on the phone initially, oh look, do you want to, I don't know, keep it or whatever? And I said, no, you should see it. It's in real bad, it's the worst state of sheep I've seen ever. Like, it's shocking. Obviously someone's had the sheep, it's become fly blown, and they just don't want to deal with it, so they've dumped it. And it was in the middle of the road, and it's come into my place. So she's come and shot it, put it out of its misery, thank God, because the poor bloke must have been suffering something chronic. And now she said, well, it's dead now, there you go. And I said, well, I don't want to dig a great big bloody hole to bury it. Can't you get rid of it, And she said, no, well, we can't. And I kind of, stood my ground a bit, because I don't see why. So if someone dumps a sheep on the road, it comes into my place, and then I should have to, spend 5 hours digging a bloody 6 foot deep hole just to bury the bloody thing. So the ranger's coming to get it on Monday. They're going to get rid of it, which is good. The only thing is there's a dead sheep out in the front paddock for the weekend. It is raining. It's going to rain all weekend, which is great, A, for the rain, and B, because at least if it was hot, it'd just get worse, and I don't want flies and all that in my place close to my sheep, So this is what happens sometimes. Things happen like this. People dump animals sometimes, and, there was a guy, there's a Angus, I don't know, wherever you guys are, as far as beef goes, I don't know if you have different names or different kinds of cattle and stuff like that, but there's an Angus stud, black Angus stud, which is a type of cattle here, and there's a guy that lives a few k's away from me. And he came out to his paddock one day and found one just in half. Someone had drove in at night, shot it, cut off the forequarters, the rear end of it, so to get all the good cuts and all, you know, the ribs and all that kind of stuff, and then left the rest in the paddock and taken it. It just amazes me sometimes. At least the sheep, you know, that I've got here has been put out of its misery. It's dead now, thank God. So that's good. I'm glad it's been put down because it was in a real bad way. But that's what happens sometimes. So if you're going to move to the country, these are some of the things that are going to happen. But yeah, I just thought I'd share that with you, just a little story. I know. Alright, thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon. I'll be back with more like proper gardening videos. See ya.